I'm the youngest of the 4 boys in our family business. I manage SA Relf and Sons, which is a green sawmill and a value-added plant, which we do kiln-dried flooring and decking at. My great-grandfather Bart Shoebridge started Newells Creek Sawmill in 1937 with his 2 son-in-laws, which was Arthur Harvey and Harold Dorney. Harold Dorney is my grandfather. My grandfather retired. My father took over running the mill. I left school when I was 15. I went and started working in the mill and also out in the bush, and then did truck driving. My family's been involved in this timber industry now nearly for 100 years. We're 4th generation, and now our kids are involved, which makes 5th generation. My son works here now with me, Jaden, and my son-in-law, Thomas. When you're cutting timber and all that, it might just look easy, you cut logs and put it in, but every log has got to be cut a certain way, differently, and there's an art in how to do that with your back saw, a quarter saw, the length to cut, and every order you take, you cut different species, different type of timber out of different logs, and it takes a long time to learn that. I've learned off a lot of old timers now, sadly they've gone and passed, but it's an art that doesn't get much respect for what it is because it doesn't have a degree or any TAFE course or all that, but it's certainly an art in how to do it. And the logs are getting smaller, the spring in the logs pull a lot, so you've got to learn how to, try and manage that better. It's all about recovery with a log. It's about how much wood, recoverable wood you can get out of a log to use, less into sawdust, less into chip, and less into firewood, and that's what it's all about. And that's what, going forward with technology, you've got to keep investing in doing that. We only have 4 loads of good logs a week. There's other mills take 10, 20, up to 80 loads of good logs a week. We try and cut as much high-grade product as we can, like our premium hardwood flooring and decking. For this product, we cut the timber in our green mill, and then we take it to our dry mill for racking out and drying. We then load it into our on-site drying kiln for up to 6 weeks to reduce the moisture content of the timber. Once we've achieved the desired moisture content, the timber is brought from the kiln to the storage shed. From here the timber is dressed, checked again for sizing and moisture. Next is the grading process. The timber is sorted into 6 different grades and then cut to length. The final moisture content and sizing is recorded before the timber is stacked, strapped and wrapped for delivery. As well as this, we also cut other products from these good logs, like high-grade building timber and fencing rails. We've always taken 30 to 40 loads a week of downgraded logs. These trees have been thinned and need to be removed from the forest to let other better trees grow. We put it into the mining timber markets and for the roads and the tunnels and building bridges. Scaffolding industry. It's got to be fast cut, it's low value. It's a massive industry and you can't import that timber. We have palings, pallet timber, the whole world moves on pallets. Yeah, so there's a lot of other businesses that feed off us. Disabled workshops, they employ hundreds of people and they make pallets, barbed wire, spools.
We supply hardwood timber to concreters, surveyors, construction, the council. We make firewood, kindling, sawdust, wood shavings.
We're Valley Industries. We're an Australian disability enterprise. In our section here we employ up to 150 people in the local area. With the timber section here where we are, we make hardwood pallets. We make stakes for your landscaping industry, your horticulture industry. It's about being included, everyone feeling included, and everyone feeling safe, and everyone feeling welcome when they come here as well.
We're trying every different angle to keep our business viable and to keep it going. We've even partnered with other businesses on site at our mill. Biocarbon creates biochar, which produces a whole range of green products, like renewable energy and additives for industry and agriculture. This partnership will create renewable energy for the whole Bulahdelah area. We work with Biomass Heating Australia and Coolabah Pellets, who make wood pellets for barbecues and heating. So it is vital we have stable, secure wood supply agreements so we can continue to build our business into the future.
I worked Newells Creek Sawmill, family-owned business, since 1981 when I left school, and learned the knowledge of how the timber mill works from the bush right through to where we sell it to the end product. We must have sawdust in our veins. It's the way we just love the smell of sawdust and work with the timber. I was lucky enough to work with my grandfather, showed me how to do saws, work everything in the mill, and my father in the background helping. We're up to the family stage now where my sons are in with me, and the business is just to the next level, and it's just all about feeding the whole town and the workers I employ. And we employ, I think, between 80 and 100 people. We take from the good log to the last bit of firewood. We take everything out of the bush what has to come. Watch the timber go through down to a fence paling, you know, or a tomato stake, which is a 25 to 25. We are one of the only sawmills in New South Wales certified to supply clean and pure wood chip to government projects such as highways, schools and parks. When you're finished and you've got the whole load of timber going out for the day, you look at it all going out and say, well, we've achieved all that. We've worked our way around a log to get it into a sawn form that's going off to the market. Just a thing that feeds the country.
When I was 15, I was in year 9, my father asked me to come home from school. He wanted to buy the Newells Creek Sawmill. He said he needed a hand to run it, and that was in 1980. And I've been home ever since, 45 years, and my life's been the timber industry. It's a special thing to be able to work in a family business. We've been there a long time and we've still got the business running. I think, you know, my father would be proud to think that the business is still running. We've got somewhere around 25 trucks, and that's amongst log trucks, timber trucks, you know, chip trucks and sawdust trucks. You know, we've got the workshop, you know, we have 4 or 5 mechanics working there. We have a boiler maker there that's always repairing our trailers. We have tyre fitters up in another tyre shed. So we buy all our tyres in bulk now and we change the tyres here ourselves, which creates more employment in the town. Yeah, so the flow-on effect from all that, you know, like it's only a small town and every little bit helps when you're employing people. So yeah, I think it's, you know, it's really important that our business can stay alive in the town and be sustainable and we have a future.
We've literally got millions of dollars invested across all our businesses. There's obviously investment in both our timber mills, in all of our trucks. We spend $1.5 million a year on maintenance and spare parts, and a huge investment in equipment for our 3 harvesting crews, which are at 3 different locations, 1 on Forest Corp land and the other 2 on private property. We're even growing our own plantations. Also, other businesses have invested in us. Like my eldest brother Greg, my father gave him 1 truck and trailer to start with, and now he's invested in more and grown his business to have at least 6 other trucks.
The forestry industry is one of the most important industries in Bulahdelah and the largest employer with approximately 120 people. For that to suffer would have a devastating effect on our economy here in Bulahdelah. So it's not just about those 120 people who work here. If they were to lose their jobs, their families would be affected. Not only that, there's a flow-on effect to every other business. For example, half the fuel from our local depot is bought by the local Newells. A hardware store, it accounts for half their business. The workers themselves, they like to eat, they'll go out and they'll buy a pie from the bakery or they'll buy something in town. So it's important that we retain those people by retaining the industry.
My name's Kevin Carter. I'm now retired, but I was a forester for over 30 years. And then I managed to go with National Park for the last 12, 13 years of my career. Forests are a natural system, right? The natural process is for trees to fight each other, survival of the fittest, and as they go up, the weaker ones, both genetically or a bad luck and had a limb kicked out of it or a fungus ate the base of it, that tree will lose. Now if you leave it long enough, 100, 150 years, they'll die out and the dominant ones will dominate, but the whole thing's a bit slow and a bit sick. And that's what forestry does. I'm going to take some out for the smaller product, then they're going to grow. And then when they catch up again, you do it again and you do it again. And forest managers pride themselves at being very good at that job. And by doing that, you keep the healthy forest. I believe you keep a pretty good biodiversity and all the other values that go with a forest, from people using it, water quality, animal habitat, whatever. The hardwood pole cannot be substituted unless you do steel or concrete, which is horribly energy inefficient. If you took all the forest away, you will not be able to substitute the acquisition or the supply. Where else do you get a building product made from sun and soil and a bit of rain? And it's sustainable, there's no two ways about it. And it's a little bit of a farce from a green perspective to say, oh, look, let's do away with native hardwood forest. The answer is, well, what do you substitute it with? And if you're in the trade, you say, well, what, pine? I mean, pine hasn't got the strength, it's half the strength of our ironbark. Well, what do you do as a substitute? Is a green prepared to go to Southeast Asia and knock over all the rainforest? I mean, is that ethically acceptable? I don't think so. I mean, so what? It's okay to not log in New South Wales, Western Australia, Victoria, but we'll go and get our wood and slaughter the tropical rainforests of the Southeast Asian area and have no conscience? Yeah, I think that's pretty poor form.
So Dad was always a firm believer in the forest. You start out the forest and you thin the forest and treat the forest. It was like your own veggie garden. You go out and pick the vegetables that's ripe and then you keep picking them and picking them. And sometimes you get to the stage, well, the garden's buggered now and you might have to give it a really good haircut and then that timber will come back on again. You know, we had our own property where we logged it 50 years ago, it was flattened, and we've been cutting trees 40, 50 girth off it for the last 10 or 20 years because Dad let it grow on then and it regrew. It's a renewable product. It's just amazing how you'll take one tree out of the forest and then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, there's 10 or 20 to replace it. It just pops up out of the ground, and all different species need to be thinned different ways and treated different ways. It's just like your veggie garden. You pick your potatoes different to what you pick your pumpkins, and it's not what you want to do to the bush, what the bush needs doing to it, and how to treat the bush, and that's what it's the most important thing. There's no bigger greenie than a timber worker or a forest worker because they know that's their livelihood and their future, and if you don't look after it, you won't have it for long term. So you've got to look after it to keep yourself employed.
It's sustainable, there's no two ways about it. But at the end of the day, it's got to be done properly and, if you like, sustainably, and therefore the practices have got to be by the book. In other words, if you mark a tree to be a habitat tree, it is a habitat tree. If you're going to grow trees to come on into the forest, you're going to leave them. So it's important that both forestry and the way it's managed, but secondly that industry does the right thing too, and you haven't got cowboys in there undoing all your good work. And in the long run, you'll produce a very high quality forest with hopefully a good product. And as we've said, you thin from below, that's the word you use. When the forest grows up and touches, there's stuff left behind. You take the stuff left behind if it's big enough or good enough or whatever, and that produces a whole range of product. But overall, I thought we've done a pretty good job over the last 100 years and we're still going, so there's no reason why we can't keep going. But everybody's got to do it by the book, you've got to do it right, no cowboys.
So it is a big concern about the future. Our major issue is Forest Corp is already struggling to supply enough wood for the mills. And now the government has announced a koala park in New South Wales, which will take another 30 to 40% of the good logs away. Our worry is a reduced supply of logs will affect our business and everyone else in the industry. You can't reduce the size of the forest and then keep the same amount of mills and think it's going to be sustainable. All we can do is hope the government get the balance right so we can continue to utilise this great resource, which in turn employs hundreds of thousands of Australians just like us.